Precision is how well you measure, and accuracy is how good your measurement is. This first target shows a large spread that does not cluster around the bullseye. This is neither accurate nor precise. The second target shows a much smaller spread, so it is more precise, but still does not cluster around the bullseye, so it is not accurate. The third target does cluster around the bullseye, so it is accurate, but it has a large spread, so it is not precise. And the final target has a small spread that does cluster around the bullseye, so it is both accurate and precise. What is precise enough or accurate enough depends on what you are measuring. If you are measuring the yardage on a golf course using a golfer's laser rangefinder, it is accurate to within plus or minus 1 yard and costs about $300, while a surveyor's laser rangefinder is accurate to within plus or minus 1 foot, but it costs $1,000. So each one of these is accurate and precise enough to do the job for which it is intended. The average golfer will be happy with a $300 rangefinder. A few obsessive golfers will opt for the $1,000 version. Now let's say you want to measure the diameter of a bearing journal. You could use calipers, which has a precision and accuracy of 1/1000th of an inch, more than 10,000 times more accurate than the surveyor's rangefinder, but still not accurate or precise enough. To measure a bearing journal, you need a micrometer, which has a precision and accuracy of 1/10,000th of an inch. So now we know that both precision and accuracy are relative to what and why you are measuring. Let's take a look at how and why we have been measuring the reels over the last century. In 1902, when we introduced the first commercially viable reel grinder, it used a device similar to this, which is basically a shaft and a stop that was attached to the grinding head. The end of the shaft was placed against the reel center shaft at one end, and the stop was set. The grinding head was then moved to the other end of the reel, and the grinder was adjusted until the stop bottomed out. This system was precise enough at the time because the cutting units were not very precise. It had no accuracy because it wasn't actually measuring anything. In the early 1990s, I added a dial indicator to it. Instead of watching to see if the stop moved, you could adjust it until the dial read 0. This increased the precision, but still did not add accuracy. In 1994, when I introduced the Peerless 2000, I created the dual dial indicator gauge, which could be calibrated to measure both ends of the reel shaft at the same time, which was much quicker. Then, during an ill-fated demo, using the dual dial indicator, I ground a 40 thousandths taper into a cutting unit. I discovered that the reel shaft had almost 50 thousandths run out. That was the last time I measured off the reel shaft. It also led to the development of the reel diameter tape. The first version was designed specifically to measure the variations in the reel shape. It is a tape which is scaled to pi inches, or 3.1416 inches per inch, so that when it is wrapped around the circumference of the reel, it reads the diameter. It is not actually measuring the circumference, but the sum of the chords between the blades. But since we are only trying to measure the difference in diameters, i.e. the cone shape, the error is in a 4th or 5th decimal place. This allows you to measure the cone shape of the reel accurately and precisely to within 1/1000th of an inch. Several people asked if they could use the tape to measure the reel for end of life. We added the table with conversion factors based on the number of blades. The precision remained at 1/1000th of an inch, but the accuracy for measuring the diameter was between 10 and 20 thousandths of an inch, which is sufficiently accurate for measuring reel end of life. Now we have a few OCD people in our community, and they asked about making the reel diameter tape more accurate. I asked why. They couldn't give me a good reason other than it would be nice. While there was only marginal benefit, there was virtually no extra cost or downside except a few hours of my time. So it had a positive cost-benefit ratio. The original reel diameter tape used thinner Mylar and no coating. We changed the printing process, which uses thicker Mylar and a protective coating, which slightly reduced the accuracy of the diameter reading, but not the accuracy of the taper reading. What has a bigger impact on the diameter reading, as we have noted before, is the number of blades, but also how much land area each blade has. For all you OCDs out there, we have added a QR code which takes you to a comprehensive table of conversion factors which accounts for this land area width. This will result in an accuracy of measuring the reel diameter to within 5 thousandths of an inch. This is a tool we made to measure the accuracy of the reel diameter tape. Here we are checking the calibration of our micrometer using a gauge traceable to the National Bureau of Standards. We then use the micrometer to measure our tool. His reading was 4 inches 481 thousandths. Okay, now we're going to check the calibration of our reel diameter tape on the tool that we made. Put it in there, and we want to get it as straight and as tight as possible. So we get 4 inches, 475 plus 6. Add that together, we get 4 inches, 481 thousandths. Now we're using our calibrated micrometer to check the height of the 456 block. And we get a reading of 5 inches and 3 thousandths. First thing we're going to do is set the calibration of our dial indicator using this block, which we've measured to be exactly 5 inches and 3 thousandths. And so I'm just going to turn the dial here until it reads 3 thousandths. And that means that when this dial is at 0, it'll be measuring exactly 5 inches off the top of the table. Now we bring our reel over, and we're going to measure the high spot of the reel. And that is 5 inches and 61. Inch is 62. And about a little over 5 inches, 63. Now we're going to double check our calibration, make sure it didn't move. And it's still reading 3, so that's good. Now we're going to set our reel up on these V blocks. And measure with our reel diameter tape. And we get 5 inches and 1 thousandth. Measure the other end. And we get 5 inches and 2 thousandths. So now we'll multiply that by our conversion factor. So 5.001 times 1.012 equals 5 inches and 61 thousandths, which is what we got on the left end. And just for, we'll do the right end, so it was 5.002 times 1.012 equals 5 inches and 62 thousandths.